The radiant heat of an atomic bomb can turn a human body to ash in an instant. The shockwave can crush bones and burst organs for miles in every direction. And those unfortunate enough to survive will soon succumb to the unseen threat of radioactive fallout. A horrible death that takes days. Most bodies will lay down and die once they've absorbed enough radiation, but may be better than the alternative that some people face: ghoulification. Plenty of people in the wasteland will shoot ghouls on sight. They look like zombies or mummies, monsters right out of old horror vids. The tragedy is that most ghouls are just as intelligent now as they were back when they were human. They're perfectly aware of what's happened to them. There's still plenty of them that have gone feral, though. Spend enough time in a rotting body, and they degenerate into little more than animals that attack any human they see. Most folk think it's better to just shoot first and worry about being called a bigot later. We're not sure why some people turn into ghouls, while others just keel over after being exposed to radiation. The history tapes don't mention ghouls existing before the Great War, so something must have changed back around the end of the 21st century. Well, a lot of things changed, but even the best minds of the wasteland can't figure out which factor causes ghoulification. The planet was covered with unprecedented levels of radiation. Some of the sites holding stockpiles of forced evolutionary virus were hit in the war, and trace amounts of the virus were released into the atmosphere. Humanity's gene pool had also been reduced from billions of people down to a smattering of survivors, many of which had been selected by Vault-Tec for dubious purposes. Ghoulification might happen when folks get just the right dose of radiation. Or maybe it's an effect of forced evolutionary virus combined with radiation. Could even be a hereditary trait that was always present in humanity, but only activated by high levels of radiation exposure. Walk the wasteland long enough, and you'll find evidence for all these theories and more. When the Great War happened, thousands of people made it to Vault-Tec facilities in time to survive the nuclear bombardment. Most of them were kept safe from the ensuing fallout, but there is one vault, number 12, where the doors didn't close all the way. They shielded most of the radioactivity, but just enough got through to turn Vault 12's population into ghouls. Every one of them was chosen by Vault-Tec. They have a history of rigging their vaults to experience theatrical malfunctions, so it can't be a coincidence that the doors failed to seal up. This supports the notion that ghouls have a pre-existing dormant trait, but it could also mean that the scamps at Vault-Tec knew the exact amount of radiation to let in. One of the few good parts about a ghoul is they don't age like humans do. Some of the pre-war ghouls are still kicking today. Unfortunately, most of them were killed a while back. Some of the surviving ghouls made it to the few settlements that would tolerate their kind. Others just set up shop in places too heavily irradiated for anyone to bother them. Another perk of being a ghoul is that they don't get sick from radiation exposure. Hell, some of them even feed off the stuff and get a robust, healthy glow when they're around it. A person can never tell if they'll ghoulify. Even if they stay away from radiation, they can still end up looking a ghoul if they get exposed to the forced evolutionary virus, the stuff that created the super mutants. Normally, when someone is dipped in a vat of FEV, they come out looking Boris Karloff with a touch of seasickness. There's a few mutants who developed other forms of genetic aberration. But that is a story for another day.